we kind of had a problem with Italy, and we just got out quick.
Yeah.
But you got stuck in Italy for a fairly long time.
You were chained.
Yeah, we were actually chained. We were buckled up, so to speak.
73 days.
Yeah.
73 days.
Yeah. By the authorities in Italy.
In order to have days like this, you're going to have days like this. This is Tips on Tuesday. We're going to talk about what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. Stay tuned so you don't feel like doing this. If you like these videos, please subscribe and give us a like. And if you have anything to add to the conversation or any questions, please leave them below. How you ended up having a problem in Italy.
Yeah.
And we kind of had a problem with Italy, and we just got out quick.
Yeah.
But you got stuck in Italy for a fairly long time.
Chained.
Yeah, we were actually chained. We were buckled up, so to speak.
73 days.
Yeah.
73 days.
By the authorities in Italy. We have a boat that is actually not supposed to sail in Europe. So we did a transport out of Europe, and there has not been paid VAT in Europe because the boat is never going to sail in Europe. So we got a transport declaration to go to Turkey. And that was made by the Danish custom authorities. And they gave us 90 days to do this transport. And the rules are you should always move forward. You should not stay in a place for a longer time. And you're not allowed to, go back and so. So we were supposed to travel the boat all the way to Turkey. And that took us 2 months, practically. That was a nice trip, and of course we had to go in and do provisions, and when the weather was bad we had to stay in some places and fix the engine in Gibraltar and so. But we never went into, we never stayed longer in European waters. And then we went to Turkey and stayed there for 3 months. That's outside EU, so that was not a problem. And then we left on the day that our tourist visa ran out. We would have sailed directly to Gibraltar, which is also outside EU. And that was actually a 2 weeks trip, and we had food, water, everything prepared. We had a very nice sailing until we reached Sardinia, which is almost halfway. And in Sardinia, we could see on our weather forecasts that the Mistral, the strong winds coming up from France, that it was just like black on the predict wind. It was just like a huge storm. So we said, we need to go into an emergency harbor. And you are both allowed to go into emergency harbor anywhere, and you also actually, you have to do it because otherwise you'll be very expensive if you have a problem out in open sea. Yeah. So we went into emergency harbor in Cagliari, in the southern part of Sicily, and we've been there twice before, and it's a very nice harbor. But the boat is very big, and we couldn't stay in the smaller harbors where I understand you were. We had to go into the big harbor, which is in the center of the city. It's an expensive harbor, but we went in there. And as soon as we arrived, we started to do some fueling. And while we were doing the fueling, which is in one of the first harbors in the big harbor, already we saw this grey boat with the Guardia di Finanza, and they shouted at us, "Where are you going?" And we said, "We're going into the big harbor." "Oh, come and look at your papers." And we're just like, first time we set our foot on European waters, land, and we already have somebody want to investigate our papers. Well, so we sailed into the big marina and moored, and the friendly guys in the harbor helped us. And this grey boat with the Guardia di Finanza, they sailed around and checked other boats, because many boats went into the harbor because of this special situation. So they went around, checked all the other boats, and we stayed there for 1 day, for 2 days. They didn't come to us, even though they asked and said they would come and investigate us. So we just wondered and said maybe they forgot about us. And then we saw there was a slide window, we could maybe go out. The waves would be high, but we could get out after 2 days. So we checked out in the harbor office, did a little provisioning, and when we came back to the boat, they were standing outside and wanted to see our papers. And we already checked out, paid the harbor money, not a little amount. It was a big amount, but
350 euro a day.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's quite a lot.
We were paying 200 euros a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we paid the harbor fee and went back to the boat, and there they were, 5 guys. We need to see your papers, and we said, yeah, no problem, you can see our papers. We are already checked out, so we are leaving. So yeah, you can do it, but we are heading out. And they sat there and they looked and they looked and they looked and they asked for more papers. And now we have a file like this because we did a lot of export papers and the bill of sales and the company that owns the boat, papers of that. And they were asking more and more papers, and we were, this is crazy. Why do we want this paper? That's from the export, from when the boat left the wharf in France 1.5 years ago, and they asked so many things. And I was down. Luckily, I found all the papers they asked, and suddenly there were 3 other guys on the
pier.
On the pier, and that was the customs. So they had called the customs to come, and suddenly we was like 10 people sitting around the table, everybody looking at papers.
And one guy who was representing the local lawyers.
So it was the boat was full, and everybody was asking. We were just like, come on, we have to go out. What's going on here?
The weather window.
And we had checked out, and we wanted to go out in daylight and everything, and they just kept on asking papers. And they looked at us, oh, you have problem, you have big problem, and you need a lawyer. We were just like, come on. Yeah, there's something wrong with the registration of the ship. And we said, come on. Yeah, but they tried to explain to us what the problem was, and we didn't get it. It took us weeks before we understood what they actually accused us for. Well,
And they accused you for?
not paying EU VAT of the boat. But the boat was exported out of EU. It was not an EU boat, but the problem was I found out weeks later that I am a citizen with my address in Denmark, which is EU, and therefore I was not allowed to do a company, they said. I was not allowed to do a company outside EU with the address in Denmark without paying the EU VAT. And that little phrase, which in many ways, well, they said, get a lawyer. And we didn't know anything about a lawyer, and said, we never had a lawyer. Actually, we never had a lawyer in our lives before. So that was just like, how do you do that? And they said, well, there's this guy and this guy and this girl and this woman and what. And we were just like, any of them speak a little English? Yeah, well, most of them don't, but I think he speaks a little English, and I think he had a boat case before. And we said, okay, let's take him, whatever. It will take 2 days and then we're out of here, we thought.
Did you take that particular lawyer that
We
spoke?
took that lawyer, yeah.
And he was okay.
He ended up being very
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
In the beginning, there was some problem with the language because we were communicating on what this
Google Translate.
Google Translate and so on. It was no, but he ended up being a very nice guy, and he took the case all the way. Even if we had some support from Denmark, from Danish lawyers as well, and they couldn't really help us because they said if you have one lawyer in Italy, we can't take the case in Denmark. And he's a local lawyer, so he might be better for you guys.
So in the long run, you got locked up
Yeah,
for
we-
72 days.
They put a
they
chain
came,
on the
they-
boat the same day. They came and buckled up the boat and said, you're not allowed to leave. And we're just like, come on.
And then they showed you some papers that they said you have done something wrong. You will have first we charge you for 250,000 euro for the VAT, and then there's a criminal case because you have tried to smuggle the boat out of Europe. That will be another case later on, and that will be another maybe 50,000 euro in fee. So we were just like, what is going on? I mean, we were really surprised. And we showed them all the papers that Isabella told that we had this exports papers ready. Everything was ready. We have been checked twice in Germany, twice in Netherlands, Holland, by the authorities, and they say all papers are good. Good trip. But these guys down there, they say, even if I told them that we have been checked several times, they say they're not doing their job well. We are the guys who do the job well. And I tell you, it is not a nice situation to be in. It was really, 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 yeah.
Well, you had also talked about some other people that had some problems where it seems like there's coordination between all the groups against some of the boaters.
Actually, the Guardia di Finanza, they are a huge institution in Cagliari, and they check all boats with foreign flags. And we have been there so long, so we actually recognize the pattern that people come in, they have foreign flags, Canada, whatever. Foreign flags might be European countries as well, and they don't check the boat when they come in, but when they know that the boats are going out, like the evening before or the same morning, they ask for the papers. And that is what we saw, that was a pattern. It was the same every time. And you know, if people missed a paper, a bill of sale, which was not original or whatever, they had to find those papers. So they have to delay their leaving, and if they have people they have to pick up in the next harbor, maybe they are delayed and everything. So as a sailor, you're very much dependent on the crew that's coming. That's really something you are dependent on, that you have to pick up people or set them off because they have a plane to catch and something. And that is what really stresses a lot of these people, because everything gets confused because, oh, you need this paper, you need this paper. Some of the people find the papers or do the job, but we saw many buckled boats in the harbor, and they had all had some different problems or did something that was maybe not appropriate or something, and they say, oh, mostly we win the cases, they say.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah,
and it's so obvious. It's not about protecting people. It's not about being the law. It's just about money. It's nothing else. They're just going hard after the money. And our lawyer said, I said, why are they so aggressive about it? Because, look there, it's 250,000 euro. That's what they go for. And they will spend a lot of time to get this money.
So, but the Danish friends you asked about, they were actually, it was some guys we spoke with back in Turkey, only over the internet, but they were Danes, flying English flag as well, and they were also going over here and were not supposed to sail in European waters. So they did actually more or less the same than us, but they had a very limited time. They had a crew in Tenerife, and the woman on board was supposed to go back to work in September, so they could not wait. We were actually sitting there and considering, should we take this case? We don't want to pay this VAT. That would be the easy way, to just pay the VAT and get going. That would,
but they're very expensive.
It's extremely expensive, and we knew that we hadn't done anything wrong, so we were just like, no way they're gonna, you know,
we are allowed to do what we do.
We are allowed to do. We have checked. We've done so much preparation to make sure that.
And so many countries said you're doing it right.
Yeah,
Germany,
yeah,
Netherlands. I mean, Germany. You would think they would be the strictest ones.
And they checked us even twice. Well, so everything. Those Danish people were anchoring in Sardinia, and the Guardia di Finanza, they actually sail around to the anchorages, and if they see a foreign flag, they check their papers, and they found an error in their papers as well, and said, you have to go into the harbor, we have to investigate your case. And they came in, we saw them coming in, and when we visited them, they were just like us, what's going on, what's happening, what's this all about? And we said, oh, don't worry, we've been here a month, and they were just like, no, because they didn't have the time. They were in a rush, and we could maybe propose our whole thing a year maybe, if that's how long it would take, because they said it can take a very long time. The bureaucracy here in Italy is very, very slow, and that, I must admit, it was. We had the paper that told us what we were accused of. We had that a month after we landed. It took a month to make that paper, but when I signed it, I could see the judge had signed it 3 weeks before. So it had been prepared 3 weeks earlier. We just got it 3 weeks later, and I asked, why does it take so long? It's a system.
And you have to pay for.
And we pay harbor money.
And it's like 200 or more euros per day.
But then the harbor said, well, you are in a special situation, we give you a little discount of 10-20% or something, which was not much, but we ended up paying 6 months in advance.
Yeah.
which was
Because you were told it's gonna take a really
long
long
could take
time.
a long
Yeah.
time.
So, anyways, getting back to the other Danish couple, and they decided to pay the VAT.
Yeah.
And what happened then?
They said after 2 days they had a lawyer, and she said, you have not a very good case because you actually stayed in a few European harbors on the way, so you might lose the case if you want to continue with it. So they said, okay, we have to pay the VAT. Then we have to pay the VAT. Yes, and she said, if you agree in paying the VAT, then you have a better case in the criminal case because you didn't know. So that will be a better situation if you immediately say, oh, sorry, we did an error, we didn't know. So that would help them maybe in the criminal case. So they decided we pay the VAT of the boat, and that's of course a lot of money, but it was possible for them to find the money. And they agreed on day 2, we pay the money. And then it took only a week, then the money was transferred. But it took still 2 more weeks or 3 more weeks.
3 more weeks.
To get the buckle off, because they said, oh, we have to do some paperwork, and we have to do some paperwork, and they have to talk to these guys, and these guys have to make sure with this guy, and they have to sign the papers. 3 funcionario have to sign, and it took them a month from the day they wanted to pay the VAT until they could leave.
Criminal case.
And then they left with the criminal case still over their head. But the lawyer, when they agreed to pay the VAT, they got the bill from the lawyer and the agent who was supposed to handle the selling of the boat to an EU country and selling it back to the EU citizens. That was a selling procedure. But they had sent them an invoice of 10,500 euros.
10,500. They had 2 meetings with the lawyer and this guy who
And the
was
agent,
and the agent. And then they say the rest is for the criminal case. The time that we spent on your coming up criminal case.
So for them, trying to resolve it quickly,
They had to pay the EU VAT.
a lot of money.
A lot of money.
They got the criminal case.
Yes,
and
they
they
had to
still
pay-
had to spend months, over months.
Over a month in the harbor to pay harbor fee. They had to pay the lawyer and the agent. They had to pay, maybe if they were accused and judged for a criminal case, then they should pay all the expenses of that case as well. And they have to pay interest from the day they took over the boat, because that's also a period where they didn't pay the VAT. So they pay the VAT backwards for the months, plus the interests that they should have paid of
Which
that amount
country
as well.
keeps VAT? Italy or?
We really
don't
don't
know.
know. I mean, it's really a crazy story.
Yeah.
But we hope that the money goes to the EU.
I think it
System.
probably gets sucked down in
Well, that
Italy
probably-
somehow.
The
been-
bureaucracy.
Yeah.
I guess
It
so.
might be,
I
yeah.
guess so. I guess so.
But
it's
big question is,
yeah.
did you have to pay VAT?
No, we were totally.
Actually, we
Won
went.
your case.
We went all the way, and it was. They have this tribunal. It's where the court.
Yeah.
And we went to court, and it was not. It was not a court that we should be involved in, like being there personally. It was only our lawyer, and then it took one case. He were there, and then we should wait a week for an answer. And then they said we need a little bit more information from you guys, because we can see that you're doing. That you have all the papers, but we still need a little bit more documentation. So we had that in the same day, and then we have to wait another 3 or 4 days.
No, it was 10 days. Every
10
time it was 10 days.
Okay, yeah,
That's
something.
how-
it was
how the
terrible.
time runs, yeah.
But in the end, it showed up that they gave us the full right to do what we did.
Our lawyer said we were at a meeting at the customs office, and we had to sign that we knew we had this criminal case, that I was announced that they had the criminal case against the company. And while we were at that meeting, our lawyer got the message that we are freed. We should leave. We are free to go. And he was very happy. And well, we signed the papers, and he said the criminal case will not be a problem now, because you actually. How do you
Hadn't done, yeah,
we went right what we did, and then we went back to our boat, and the Guardia di Finanza, they came, and they were because they had to loosen us
Yeah.
after having kept us for more than 2 months. And
we are not happy with the situation. They say, and this, yeah.
and I said, but why are we free? Is it because you have done an error in your accusation, because they accused me as a person, and actually the boat belongs to the company? So that's a big error, and that's actually the error that could have released us very earlier, I think, but because of the bureaucracy it took a long time. Is it because of this structural thing, this practical thing, or is it because actually we were right? And they said, we don't know and we cannot tell you. And I was just like, can we go into another European harbor? What is this all about? What is our rights now? And they said, we don't know. And so we were released, but didn't know why we were released, or what was the conditions for our release.
I guess you didn't give in paying VAT and agreeing on everything they
At
were
the moment, the judge said that you have to release them.
As well.
They were just like, this.
You can't hold them any longer.
No,
Yeah.
you
So,
can't hold them. You
The
have to
big
put them
question
into-
now is, would you ever sail through Italy again?
Yes.
You would.
Yes, absolutely. But I would know that there's a risk of this crazy thing. And of course this risk was bigger because it was a company that owns the ship, and we knew we were not allowed to sail in European waters, but we went into European waters. But it actually was our right to go into that harbor. And if I look back, of course we should have gone just to Tunisia. We would have never had the same problems, but it was a much longer trip, and we were afraid of this storm coming towards us. So we thought, well, Cagliari is maybe okay, but we did not expect this kind of treatment. And I can see that they had so many boats. Many
Just
boats
like
come
you.
there, go to Tunisia to check out, because they only have a permit of staying in Europe for 18 months. And they all go to this harbor. So it's a big business, and they check all the ships, and if they find just a little questioning something, then they can buckle you up. And then they have this bureaucracy that really squeezes people to well, we have to pay the VAT and let's go.
They can
I
easily.
wonder, these marinas, we were surprised how come these marinas can charge $200 a night, euros a night for us.
Yeah.
And no wonder. It's kind of, they have such a lucrative business.
Absolutely,
They have. And we ended up, the whole case was like all together with the Danish lawyer and everything, about 25,000 euro.
If you like this video, give us a like down below and click here to subscribe. That really helps us. And if you want to watch more of us, click one of those.
They said they came from Spanish.